Win.
Hi, this is Mark Griffin. This is TAR 13. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been here, and we've had plenty of reasons and a few excuses, but it doesn't make any difference. We're back. Justin is joining us shortly because he's pushing buttons and doing everything. Sometimes he even does them right. But there's a lot to talk about. It has been 5 weeks since we've been here, but we've had the Swanee. We've had, no, actually the Swanee was prior to this event. It was before our last
Our last podcast was right before Reno.
Yeah, February 8th. And we did Reno, the U.S. Bar Table Championship. A lot of news and things going on. Then there was a Super Billiards Expo, Alan Hopkins event in Pennsylvania, which is causing its own fair share of controversy, up to and including their high run contest. And we're not here to bash everybody, but there's definitely some things we can talk about on it. So.
That's the hot topic right now on AZ. Yeah. You know, I read something,
You weren't there, I was, so we have a different perspective.
I wasn't there, but I mean, I read the different topics about what happened, and it's, my thing is talking about the chop and not playing the finals and
You're talking about the straight pool, yes.
And I can see two sides of that.
I do too.
One side of it is it's absolute 100% bullshit not to play out and chop finals and stuff like that for an event where people, especially in an event that's supported by donations, like that straight pool event is
totally supported.
I mean, it's bad enough to do it to sponsors, and Fury already said that, maybe
they may not be back.
Maybe they don't come back.
Well, you had a lot of individuals,
but I mean, as much as I love to jump on Charlie every chance I get, same time, if it worked out the way, because the way I saw it was Mika was playing in some other side event.
It was one of the booths. It was the Magic Cube or something. It was they were doing some kind of, I don't understand. It's $1 million shootout, but I think you had to do something special. So it was just a little in-house, in-booth shooting thing.
But so, and to me, you schedule everything. If a guy doesn't show, he doesn't get paid.
I'm going to agree with you.
And where we always get in trouble, it's happened to me, it's happened to you. Yeah. You try to be a good guy and you try to work with people and work around stuff and try to be flexible.
And it does bite you.
And it'll kill you every time.
But I will say, we had a similar problem. We got down to the top 8 players in our high run contest last year, and Corey Deuel was still playing in the 10 ball. Well, he just forfeited his straight pool. That's all. No big deal. And it wasn't even a discussion. You're gone.
Right.
And the amazing thing is I think Mika probably had half a decent excuse because he was involved in another event, but it was a single event. But that could have been postponed or danced around. Listen, somebody should have seen this coming. It's not too tough. But the real killer is, and I'd also like to jump on Charlie at times, but he needs a little jumping on this time. He wanted to get down the street to the Battle of the Beauties. Now, let's be realistic. Well, Mika could have gone down there, and they got a TV, and they could have played the damn match right there.
Yeah.
The
other side is, it
should have been played.
I wasn't there this year, but you can't have guys in there playing at 10, 11 o'clock at night while they're tearing everything down.
Totally agree.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. You schedule it for when you know you can play. If you got to be out by 6, you schedule it 4. If you have to, you start at the finals and work your whole schedule back.
Well, and I know probably what happened is because we had the same thing happen. Well, we're getting ready to shut it. Oh, no, let me try, or something new.
But,
so that, and that's...
and the thing of it is this is a growing thing, but this is the, this is the third one they've done there.
This is the third year.
And
Charlie and Steve
they've done them at the Derby.
Different people.
Well, but it's the same, similar format. But, and it's an awesome thing, and I think, the guys who put it together...
All volunteer.
Yeah.
And I am going to say one thing that I disagree with.
But, I
Alan should give them a little more help. And I'm not going to go too much further than that, but I think everybody knows what I'm saying.
I don't know what you're saying, but I mean...
Well, it's a total volunteer thing, and they could use maybe half-price booths instead of full-price booths.
Oh, yeah?
They use 4 booths.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Now, they don't pay for 4.
Well, then there's your help.
Not much. Not enough. Because they're trying to rebuild a dying sport. The straight pool's getting some legs between, and something, you'll love this one. I was talking to Bob Jewett because he started the high run contest at the Derby, which really started this resurgence of pool. Guess where he got his idea from? Earl Strickland, who has never played in the event.
Wow.
But he just said, he made a comment to Bob and says, Bob says, okay, well, fine, we'll just do it at Derby for $10,000. That's where I'll start from. So there's Earl again. But it's upsetting to me because I'm a little bit of a purist. You got to have the finals, especially to people that contribute. Some of these people gave $500. Just reached in their pocket and say, here's $500. Bob Jewett gave $1,000. Fury probably gave 5 times that much. They deserve more respect.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you know.
But there's a lot of things that are out of everybody's hand. You can't blame it on Charlie. You can't blame it on Mika.
Well, if I would blame it on anybody, I'd blame
it on the promoters.
No.
The time.
I think I don't think that, you know, I don't think blame might even be the right word. I think if you look at it, you try to take all the factors into account and what caused the finals not to happen. And, you know, number one, the easiest fix is a scheduled final time. Like I said, if you've got to start your event, the planning off 9 months out, you start with my finals start at 4 o'clock.
Absolutely.
And then you
they only had 4
everything
finals.
Back from that. You know,
they
what I mean?
only have 4 matches, 2 tables.
But you know, and that's one way to do it. And I'm sure the guys who are running this are sharp dudes. You know, they look what they've put together in 3 years.
Well, I think they're doing.
They're getting some support out of an industry that is real hard to get support out of. You know. Yeah. And that means they're on the right track, and they're stand-up guys doing a good job. And so I hope this doesn't jade any of them or any sponsors, because I think it's a simple fix. And the simple fix is you just got to be a little more of an asshole up front. You know, I mean,
I think they're learning.
And that's, you know.
And because there's a lot of funny decisions. I have to chuckle about this. Do you know Kenny Brisbane?
The name sounds.
Well, he's up from Michigan. He comes down and plays.
Yeah.
The black guy.
Yeah, Black Kenny.
Plays okay.
Yeah.
He's not a world beater.
Yeah.
Plays good.
Yeah.
He does not play straight pool.
Right.
So he played in that thing. He got 118. They says, you're a pro. He says, a pro? I don't even play the game. But he ran a 62 on a diamond. Yeah. Literally, I'll bet he hasn't played 10 games of straight pool in his life. Yeah. So they have enough decisions trying to figure out who's an amateur and who's a pro. We had the same problem. Yeah. You know, in ours. So the thing is full of comedies at times, and innocent ones.
You know, that's one of the biggest. And I made a post about this on AZ. You know, one of the things that just, and of all the shit that kills pool, is there is no pros.
Yeah.
You know, there is no bar. There's no
level playing field. I know somebody put on another post. It's time for a national rating series, and do you think we should go from 0 to 100? Well, you know, all that stuff is great. Who in the hell is going to do it? Where's the standard? You can't, I mean, different size table. It's just, you know, it's an impossible thing.
Yeah, I mean, a national rating thing, of course. I mean, you're never going to get around dumps and shit. But to me, there should be some quantifiable method to identify the top 50 players in the country by ranking. You know, and there is somewhat, but the problem we run into now is we have a lack of sample size. Perfect example. Jeff Beckley wouldn't be anywhere on that list.
Oh, he's off the radar.
And what did he do? You know,
he wins the bar table 8-ball.
Yeah. And you know, and the thing of it is, there's 100 Jeff Beckleys out there. Maybe not, pretty close. No, you know, there's a lot of guys.
There are 100 Jeff Beckleys.
There's a lot of guys out there to play that good.
Everything was working right for him.
Yeah.
You know, he could play that thing again. He won't play that good. He just played.
Well, you know,
he's capable. Everything went right.
And he won when he had to win, you know, and
good for him.
He played good. But my point is, you know, it goes back to a guy like Kenny. You know, Kenny's not going to win the U.S. Open, but he's capable of beating somebody on any given day, and that's the nature of this game at that level, is that, you know.
Well, I can give you a real good example. At the U.S. Bar Table Championship, and it's really a funny story, but I was playing Larry Neville. Mm-hmm. I went hill with Larry Neville, and 2 hours later, I was in the hospital for a week.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't even get up and down. Yeah. I had some pneumonia and then got some other issues.
So what you're saying was Larry Neville was having a really terrible tournament,
well,
huh?
Actually, when he comes in third in that event, you know, I mean, he did not play to his potential. I mean, but I played actually extremely well for not playing. Bar tables do that to you.
Yeah.
You know, ran 3 racks out of 6. You know, we got a shot.
Yeah.
Boom. You know.
Well, the bar table is an equalizer.
Yes, it is. So it's all interesting, but I don't know how we're ever going to set up any kind of nationals.
Getting back to the finals debacle thing.
Let's learn from it, number one.
Yeah, and I think, you know, like I said, I know what it's like to be there when they're closing, not the new place down. I didn't go this year. And to be honest with you, I'm glad I didn't go this year.
It's got some challenges.
Just from reports I got. And I love that event. You know, I miss seeing a lot of people, but for what it cost me to go out there for 4 days, it's, I mean, I don't know.
There's some serious issues.
Yeah.
Let's put it at that. And you know, and I sympathize with them because you just can't go out and invent a 200,000 square foot venue that has a hotel next door to it and enough bathrooms. But the simple basic things, no carpet, no bathrooms, that's tough action.
You know, I mean, Alan Jr. made a post, and
I appreciate him. You know, he's very good. He should be on the internet more often because he does a good job, and he's a good kid.
Yeah. And I mean, he broke down exactly, you know, the challenges and things they face, and it can't be easy what they do. You know, it's one of those, it's just like, you know, I hate where the Derby's at, you know, and I didn't go this year. First year I didn't go, you know. I can tell you right now, I don't like where Super Billiard Expo's at right now. I mean, it's just, I don't know what the answer is, but, you know, I do believe that it's only going to last so long where people keep coming back to places that their events are in shitty locations, man. I mean, you know, people in pool, it's like, you know, I'm going hell or high water, support the event. You know, that's good. But from the flip side of that, man, that's only going to last so long until people finally start saying, do I really want to spend $2,000 to go stand on a concrete floor for 4 days?
I totally agree. And Lou posted, the pool players get what they deserve.
Yeah.
You know, and he got beat up, but he wasn't very far off.
You know what? I used to not see eye to eye
with
Lou. And the funny thing is, the longer I'm in this game, the more I see eye to eye with Lou.
Well, Lou's a pretty straight shooter.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean on a pool table. He'll basically say what, he doesn't owe anybody anything.
No.
He's just going to say, here's what I feel.
Yeah.
Take it for what it's worth.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of the few guys on AZ, when I see him post, I pay a lot of attention to what he has to say.
I tell you what, he's a great writer. When he writes his stories, the actual stories, it's awesome stuff.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get him to write a book. He doesn't pay any attention to me. He's like everybody else.
But, you know, I don't know what the answer is. You know, I know, to me, it's the same thing as what happened with the Derby. It is exactly the same thing. The old venue is no longer available, so you got to find a new venue. So you look for something, and it seems like whenever you try to find a new venue, all that credit, all that history you built up with the old place, you know, a lot of times they don't give you credit for that.
It can be better. I don't think the Derby's is bad.
Look,
you don't like it because it's probably in a casino and they lost the 7-foot tables.
No,
There's
I mean, the reason I don't like it is, number one, it's out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
there's no other, you're locked, it's like a
trapped.
damn YMCA lock-in. Okay, and number two, the food is, while better than the other place, is still expensive as hell. You know, I mean, I can go on and on. The way it's all chopped up, you know, it's still, you know, I'm glad it's there. I'm glad somebody's doing something. And the best part about it is it gave Greg an in with Harris, so now, because he moved there, now we got one more event than we used to have.
Coming up in Tunica. July 20th through 28th, which is a little more, you know, there's 5, 8, 10 casinos within 2 miles, and Memphis is 40 miles away. And
I mean, and despite my personal feelings of not liking the location, it's just, it was just proved to be a very smart move, because now we've got now you got another 25,000 out of it, or 50,000, whatever it's going to be.
And they got some assistance from the casinos that the hotels just can't give them. You know, hotels.
No, I'm not against. I'm not against having stuff in casinos. I'm all for it.
A lot of people are, but I really honestly
I'm against that particular casino.
Okay.
Just for logistic reasons.
That's fair.
But you know, it's okay. Looking at the pictures from Super Billiards Expo, man, I looked at those and I was like,
I couldn't believe a couple of things.
I just don't have any desire to go.
And you know, I have to say a couple of things. I do a lot of events, and some of them are pretty big events. Mm-hmm. When we took over the U.S. Bar Table Championship, there were never any lights there. We've had lights there every year. I remember hearing comments at the old Windy City, no lights. A lot of other events. TAP doesn't use lights at their nationals. And I hear from it, you know. So I bust my ass and spent $200,000 building all these lights that I had to pay for.
Right.
and it seems like I don't get any credit for it. Now people, they don't say, oh, it was great. The lights were great. But boy, if I was to take the lights out, I'd be black and blue.
Well, yeah.
And I don't quite understand if it's an East Coast versus West Coast mentality.
You know, I think what it's
pretty bizarre.
It's one of those things that where I just think you don't notice until something's gone or until something changes.
Yeah, maybe so.
You know, I mean, a perfect example is you go to the Nationals or go to Reno. You know, anywhere where there's good light on the tables, good diamond tables, good balls. You know, everything is
clean,
top shelf.
Yeah.
And people go to that event year after year after year. They don't say good job because that's what the event is.
Well, that's also what they should expect.
Yeah, and that's what. But it works the other side too. If you go somewhere and it's just, you know, not optimal conditions, but it's always been that way, you know. And then, but what happened was, you know, this year.
Well, the lights were 30 feet.
That's the difference.
And there was
and
not
when
very
things
many.
go down, you know, if things go up, yeah, maybe you get a little attaboy. But if things go down, you're shit. Hang on for the ride.
It's really important that everybody knows that that I appreciate the Hopkins, Allen and Son Jr. doing the event. I think it's a great event.
Yeah. And
there's no
they'll
animosity,
figure it out.
no jealousies, no nothing. I'll help them any way I can. I was probably going to call Allen. I just haven't gotten to it yet because he's probably just recovering from it. Because they're a grind. They'll put you out of business for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But there's some adjustments they have to make, and they admit it. That venue is off the charts, though. I mean, it's
and that's what sucks is I don't
only do so much. You know, everybody's saying, well, he needs a carpet and paint. Listen, anybody that wants to carpet 204,000 square feet, divide that by 9 or 10. That's 22,000 yards of carpet.
It's not going to happen.
It ain't never going to happen. Never, because first of all, it's used for other events. You're not can't be having.
Well, you never can change. That place is dude, I worked in a warehouse for 10 years. I worked in a factory for 10 years.
This was a factory, by the way.
I know. I saw the pictures and I started having flashbacks.
This was they had a shuttle running from the Radisson Hotel, and this is funny, big school bus shuttle, 44-passenger school bus. I rode it twice. I was the only person on it. But anyhow, he said it was an old Firestone tire factory, and then somebody else people said it was an old school locker factory. But they do a lot of shows there. I mean, Allen Jr. posted out the car shows and dog shows and kid shows and you name it, they do it. But the East Coast it's older buildings, older roads. This thing is weird. You drive down this little residential road and it has a sign, you know, Greater Philadelphia Convention. You go back, there's warehouses. It's like you go back there and expect to see a duplex.
Yeah.
And here's a 200,000 square foot building. East Coast is different than the West Coast. It's old.
Yeah.
And so these buildings have different standards, and you know, will they get it together? Yeah, they'll improve it.
I think you know, I have no doubt in my mind that they will improve the event.
But they only have so much control.
You can't outrun a bad facility. You can't outrun the logistics of a spot. Perfect example is the Derby. There's nothing you can do about the fact that you're 20 minutes away from the closest civilization. I mean, you no matter what you do, you cannot change that. You can't change the fact that, you know, the location is a factory. You know, I mean, there's just you can't outrun that.
You can't outrun it to the degree, as somebody posted. Within 100 miles, there's 30 million people. That's
well, no, but what I'm talking about outrunning the event to make it better.
I know.
You know, the best you can. I mean, I have no doubt that they will do the best event they can do in that location. My hope is they signed. I saw online they signed a 2-year deal with that place.
Yeah.
I hope they do I hope they find a better location. I think if they find a better location,
you know, I'm sure they've.
Yeah, but you know what? There's always when you're talking about the kind of event Alan's talking about. It's just like, you know, people say, you know, I'm still not convinced that you couldn't have found a better spot for the Derby. I know why they are in that spot for the Derby. But
a lot of things. You know, it's 20 miles from the factory.
Exactly.
You know, it's a mainline casino company. Blah,
and Harris,
blah,
right? And so, to me, there's one thing that trumps everything about the Derby. If they held it in a tent in the middle of a field, as long as Harris was on board with it, then that's a great reason to have it in a tent in the middle of the field. But you know,
and there's a lot of people that said do it in Atlantic City, and there's other ones say nope. And I asked somebody, and Atlantic City is about 2 hours from where the Super Billiards Expo is currently being held. And they say, nope, that'll change the dynamics. I don't know if it would or wouldn't. There's still got to be 30 million people that live
I don't think so.
100 miles too. But
you're not, you know what? I guarantee you.
Build it and they will come to a degree.
You take everybody that was there now, this year, in that old-ass factory, on concrete floors.
It was brutal.
And you take that and you put it in a casino somewhere.
Where you can sit down and
it's
air conditioned.
Good food and you can go upstairs. Every person that says, oh, I'm not going if it's in Atlantic City, there'll be 10 to take their place.
I'm going to agree with you. And but the dynamics are pretty interesting. And some of these people come up with the, I don't remember some of them, but I have to laugh at some of the people's suggestions. Well, they should just do this.
Well, no, and that's the other thing. I don't want to sound like I'm saying just go to Atlantic City and do it in a casino because it ain't that easy. You know, if the casinos aren't on board with pool or, you know, hell, go try to find an open weekend somewhere.
Well, there's no casino big enough.
Yeah.
There's no casino in Atlantic City. It has 200,000 square feet.
Right.
So you got a lot of issues.
Yeah.
But everybody appreciates them doing the event. I looked forward to it. It was very interesting. Some of the vendors said they did great. Mm-hmm. Some of them said they didn't do so great, but that's typical. That just happens.
Every show's that way.
You know, they had some logistical problems on how they channeled the people through, and for a couple days, all the pool players were not even going through the vendor area.
Yeah.
They were coming through the side doors, and those are issues that should have been handled.
You know, one other thing he's got going for him is I know a lot of people. They go to one tournament every year. Super Billiard Expo.
Oh, it's a monster billiard. That's right.
And you know, one event a year, and that's what they go to. And if they go to two, it's Super Billiard Expo, U.S. Open.
Yeah.
You know,
East Coast people.
And they don't. Yeah, exactly. And they will not come off the East Coast. And you know, they won't even go to Derby. But it's you know, and
it's all interesting. Listen, anything that's good for pool, I'm in favor of, and I take my hat off to them. And again, if there's something I can do to help them out within reason, I'll do it. But I'll bet you $1 they're making notes and lists right now.
Well, I mean, of course, but you know, these guys have been doing this for a lot of years. You know, I mean, I'm sure they tried to anticipate as many problems as they did, and you know, and the other thing is, I'm sure a lot of their staff probably, you know, guys they've got working for them, they may not know what's going on until they show up to work. You know, like this is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to do. You know,
when Chad from Diamond showed up with the tables, and everybody looked like a deer in headlights.
Yeah.
I mean, and because
first year at a new venue,
and the floors weren't marked for measurements, and there were just issues that, you know, I think it just overwhelmed them. I just,
I could see
and I'll tell you what,
if
it wasn't for Chad and a couple of guys, they'd still be setting that place up.
Well, I mean, look at how much work you know. I mean, you're going to go through this.
I'm going through it next year. When we go to the Rio, everything changes. Because we're going to have more tables, but nothing's the same. Yeah. You don't know where to hang the lights. Everything's different.
Yeah. Well, we did it this year in Reno.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a much smaller scale.
40 tables, sure.
Much smaller scale.
But the casino hung the lights. It took them 2 days to hang 40 lights. That's not acceptable. you know?
I mean, how long does it take to hang 40 lights? 8
well,
hours?
The Riviera got it down, but we use chain instead of some other things, and they hang 240 lights in between 2 and 3 days.
Yeah.
If they'd all get out of our way, we'd do it in a day.
Yeah.
It's just amazing, but not union contractors and the electrician has to do this. Oh, the carpenter has to do this. We got to take our break. You know, just give us the scissor lift and leave, and come on back in about 12 hours, and we'll show. But they won't. You can't do that. We're just talking because you can't do it.
Right.
So that way, when you move into a new venue, you have to have 2 days move-in time that you really don't need. Right. I mean, you really need 4 days, but 2 of them are so they can hang the lights. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll have a lot more gray hair before next July 2013.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it won't be long now. I mean, you guys are probably starting to ramp up for nationals now.
We are. Yeah, sure are.
You know, I mean, I know we're a couple of weeks from April, and then it's all downhill from there, man. I mean, you start
all
surfing.
Over the hill.
Yeah, right. But I'm really looking forward to it. I'm anxious to see how the U.S. Open One Pocket develops, because it was a huge hit last year. It seemed like, with everybody involved.
You know, and we're hoping, it's not We're just hoping, because we're doing the high run contest again this year, and we're hoping that that progresses into bringing the U.S. Open straight pool
to
the Rio in 2013.
Yeah.
Since we have more space, we can increase the pro pit to either 12 or 16 tables, and we'll have straight pool, 1 pocket, 10 ball.
Yeah.
And because as you get down to the last 4 tables or so, you can start the first round of the next one. So we don't have to add any days. So, you know, I think the industry needs it.
Yeah. Well,
It will not be a big field. It'll be probably 32, because they're all going to the best players are going to have to come in from the East Coast. We'll just see if they'll make the commitment to come. It's not going to be a huge tournament.
You're going to add 25?
Oh, I can't. I don't have 25 to add. No. See, we're not going to get any more gate.
No, what I'm saying is.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying.
Why don't? Well, you know, I don't know.
We will
I'm not
try
get
to
into
solicit money, and we're looking for sponsors. But you know, unfortunately, on the East Coast, they can find people that will write a check, big check. We're looking. I mean, right now I'm figuring between 10 and 20 for the straight pool.
Well, it's a straight pool tournament.
Yeah, and it brings back something that's been going on. We had when we did the Q Olympics, we had the U.S. Open straight pool, because we've had the name since 2007. So.
Yeah. Well, good.
And so, then after that, we hope to bring back the U.S. Open 8-ball.
There was a question here about Masarib, I think it was. Asked about the TAR store, if it's closed, how is TAR going to survive, or this and that. TAR's always made 99% of its money off of events, pay-per-view. The merchandising and stuff we've done, we've never really made any money off of it for various reasons. So closing a store doesn't affect what we do at all.
We're looking for options, though.
Yeah, yeah. And there is some, you know, I think there's demand there. We've hurt the demand, or I have, or however you want to look at it, over the years. You know, I'm talking to several people right now about how to make it work for everybody involved. We've got lots of product. We've got, you know, a brand that has got some value. So we just need to find the right way that works for everybody. Because if it only works for one person, then it's not going to last. So well,
there's a lot of obstacles that people just don't see. And one of the things that, and Justin and I we have arguments about this sometimes. I'd love to see more of our matches on DVDs. But when you play a race to 100 or 3 out 25, you have a 12-disc set that takes him 2 weeks to do, and you sell 10 of them.
Yeah. Because you have to charge.
That's right. Everybody says,
because you got to charge $80. Yeah, you got to charge.
Even $80 is only $6, $7, $8 a disc.
Right, I know.
It doesn't math out.
Right.
So there's issues that people have to understand, and maybe, now we're doing the races to 25. Maybe it's race to 25 day 1, race to 25 day 2, race to 25 day 3.
Right.
But
and then that way, if you want to buy the whole set, then we give you a break.
Discount, but they're packaged separately.
Sure.
Good grief, the package carry 12 or 14 discs is like $5.
Yeah.
You know, everything is, and people don't see that. Now, hopefully we'll find somebody who says, I'll do it. And,
well, I'm talking to people,
and we're getting there.
And you know, the thing of it is, it's one of these deals to where anybody that we do, because I would prefer to do an exclusive deal with somebody to where I'm not having, you know, I want to be able to put out a product. I've got, you know, sources for everything as far as DVDs, shirts, hats, all that shit. Somebody comes in and says, here, look, I want X, give me 20 copies of this, 20 copies of this, 20 copies of this, 50, whatever you want to order. And we wholesale them out. I order them, boom, there they go. And then, you know, the flip side of that is, when you do an exclusive arrangement like that with somebody that's not already an exclusive retailer, is now you get people saying, oh, you know, and rightly so, they're wanting commitments from you to tie you up, saying you have to do X, Y, Z, this, and this. Yeah. And I'm really kind of at the point to where I understand that, but I'm not looking for a partner. You know, we're looking to sell merchandise. You know, so
well, it gets interesting too, because you never can guess on shirts. So
I would, you know, probably, and me and him talked about it, and I still think, you know, maybe we do like one shirt for Vegas.
Yeah.
You know,
because otherwise you run out of the size. Now you're saying, well, you don't have a double X or a triple X. You only have mediums, and you can't win for losing.
Yeah.
And it's a commitment when you do those type of things. And you have to be willing to make the commitment, and we aren't, because you have to spend several $1,000s in inventory to sell 2 shirts a week.
Yeah.
They just don't get it. And it's really unfortunate, because Justin's done a very good job on building the brand. He's talking to some pretty cool people that might be able to solve this problem, and like he says, let's find an answer.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm sure it's out there. To me, it's all going to come down. And you know, we've jumped from thing to thing, and I haven't really. We got to get a real website. You know, I mean, we have to get video on demand. We have to have a membership section. You know, different people in the industry do it different ways. Nobody really does it, to me, effectively yet. But outside of the IPT, even still, but you know, I don't have $50,000 to spend on web development.
Sell some shirts.
Yeah, if we sell a lot of shirts, maybe. But that's something we'll get to. But one thing as far as TAR goes that we're gonna, you know, we're gonna switch the model up, and we're gonna, just because it's so hard to get action matches. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with a King of the Hill type format with Shane. If you look at the records, nobody's close to what Shane's record is in TAR matches. I mean, he's identified with us, and we're identified with him. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to put up $5 grand and pay expenses, and we're going to fly somebody in here to play Shane until somebody beats him. And that's how we're going to give it a shot. You know, I mean, we're depending, probably there's a chance we might, and I'm guessing probably where it's going to have to work is we're going to have to pay $4,000 to the winner and $1,000 to the loser, because
it's still real money. That the main thing.
Well,
is
they're paying. Yeah, they're
it's
paying
real
for
money.
$3 grand. But the other side is it's real hard. You know, if it was up to me, I would say it's $5,000. We'll pay your expenses to get here, but it's $5,000 winner take all. Yeah. You know, I mean, but at the same time, it's not really.
That's not real.
It's, you know, it's a tougher sell, and at the same time, I would feel bad if a guy comes out here, plays his heart out, you know what I mean, and, you know, loses by a game or something, and now he's killed himself. And
no, I don't think there's anything wrong with getting $1,000 walking money. And the main thing is it's on the square. If anybody does business, they're barred from TAR forever.
TAR, CSI events,
everything. Yeah, none of this. There will be no chopping. Yeah. Or any, I don't care what you call it, savers, choppers, dumps. Those things aren't going to happen. If they do, they'll happen once.
Right. And I really believe that, you know, nobody else is doing it. You know, that's one thing that us putting up money to do events will allow us to do.
Sure.
Is now, you know, now if somebody's acting like an asshole in a match,
we can correct.
We'll dock you.
Yeah.
You know, hey, guess what? You just got fined $500.
Yeah, it changes.
Straighten up.
It changes the tools, and we're also working on some other things too. But you know,
and ideally, the people that we have in these matches, you know, we know all these guys that we're going to have, and that shouldn't even be an issue.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, by us doing this, as long as, you know, the people who've always supported us will support this format, now we can start doing cooler stuff. Who do you want to see play? You know, here's the money.
Yeah.
And the thing of it is, if somebody won't play for a guaranteed $1,000 and a chance to win $4,000 on a complete free roll, I don't know how else you get somebody to play pool.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, you're right that the money's getting really short. The backers are just getting out of business. Yeah. Speaking of backers, you realize that there's been a little bit of action in New York?
Yeah, I mean, like here, you know, you like to see Appleton play Shane, we could do that.
We can do that.
Yeah, I know Darren would be down for that, especially with the new format of 3 races of 25.
It's 2 out of 3 races.
Yeah, and another thing we're going to do is, I'm going to post this probably tomorrow when I get to it, but I talked to John Schmidt, and he said, you know, he would be interested, and Danny kind of hinted around at it, but we want Schmidt and Harriman to come play.
We want the rubber match.
And we'll put up a prize fund for them to play, and we'll pay their expenses to get here.
And eventually, we're going to get a sponsor when we do this stuff. That's why we're front loading it a little bit.
Thing of it is,
we're getting some sponsors.
We're getting some help
OB
from Kamui and OB.
Have been really helping us out.
We've kind of decided that we can't wait for people anymore. So we're just going to have to roll the dice.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't go, then it doesn't go. Then, you know, it's just time to cut bait.
Yeah.
But I think it will go because it'll also allow us the ability now to give people what they want to see. You know?
Yeah, we can get some
within
one-pocket
reason.
matches.
Now,
we can get
people
some,
say, I want to see Wu play or Cuyo or something like that. You know,
you get the logistics start getting.
You get them here. You know, here's the money. You know, you get them here.
Yeah.
But it's
and we're working on a couple other things that we can't really go into.
Yeah.
Plus, we have the U.S. Open one pocket and Ted Ball coming up
May.
in
Yep.
March, April, May. 2 months.
Yep.
Less than 2 months. Working on a couple other things that you know, if they happen, it'll be really, really cool.
Yeah. But I already reached out to Shane, told him you're the man, and he's like, I'm in. I'll play anybody.
Yeah.
And
we
so,
still, you know, he still has his race to 100
yeah,
on a bar table challenge, and you know, we can get a bar table in here in about 20 minutes if somebody would
sure
jump up and let's bet.
Well, for
you know.
that's and you know, and the thing of it is, I called one player and offered him before I've called anybody else, and this is something that just makes me nuts, and I'm going to share it with you guys. Is I call this player and I say, look, here's the deal. We're going to start this new thing. It's you're guaranteed $1,000 to play. We'll pay all
walking away
your,
with $1,000.
You're walking away.
Yeah.
We'll pay your expenses to Vegas, airfare, hotel. You know.
2 days.
Yeah. All you got to do is, you know, eat, but you got to eat where you live anyway.
Yeah.
So, and if you beat Shane, you have a chance to win, you know, $4 or $5 grand.
And then, in theory,
and then
somebody has to
stick
beat
around.
you now.
And then now you're gonna. So now
So
you're
you get
guaranteed at least another $1,000
So
if you win, because even if you lose the second match, you get paid a grand. And he goes, I don't know. You know, let me think about it. I'll get back to you. Never got a phone call.
I talked
back.
to him 3 times
Never got a phone call
at the
back.
Super Billiards Expo, and every time I'll call him. I'll call him. No, call him now. No, I'll call him. I'm leaving. I'll call him in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, we can't deal with that type, because if they're that flaky, just making the commitment,
How are they going to be getting on an airplane?
what happens now?
Yeah. So
Because we have no recourse.
yeah, and
So,
that's one of the things that we're rapidly going to find out is, you know, we're going to be putting money in people's pockets, and you know, ideally, we're going to put some in our own too.
Yeah.
Because if we don't put some in ours, we can't put some in anybody else's. But you know, the guys who work with us, it's going to be.
And we're not picking
gonna be money.
favorites. We'll work with anybody.
I'll work with anybody,
But
but
show
yeah,
that they'll
you
work with. Don't make it too hard. This is a message to some of the pro players. But you know, we've spoken to them a couple times. You know, I said, would somebody please call the BCA and say thank you for trying to get money to send us overseas? I don't think they got a call.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You get, you know, the ABP is trying to get a big presence, which we should talk about the pro event at Allen Hopkins, because that got to be really cute. And that was the first ABP sanctioned event, but they had some real issues, like changing rules and cue balls in the middle of the game. But help us, and we'll help you.
Yeah.
But you got to be solid. You know,
Yeah.
we just can't do it. We can't deal with flakes, because flakes get 2,000 people pissed off at us when all of a sudden the thing's canceled 10 minutes. You know.
Right. But you know, I'm excited about it, because now it gives us the opportunity to do a lot of things that, you know, before we were subject to. You got to make the players happy, and you got to make the backers happy, and you got to make a game where both sides are gonna, you know, feel like they got the best of it, which is damn hard to do. Now guys will play a tough game, you know. I mean,
what's a chance for them to prove themselves with no risk?
But you know, the thing of it is, we have to be careful, because you know, we have to make sure that the matches have enough commercial viability
to overcome the nut,
to outrun this big ass nut that we're taking on now. So hopefully we can get the sponsors on board. I'll be, you know, sucking up to Royce and Shane at OBQs at some point in the near future, along with John at Kamui. But it
has a lot of potential.
allows us to really build something. You know, it's a UFC style, the you know, amoebic beginnings of something, And by doing this, it does, to me, here's two things it really does. It allows us to have more matches on a regular basis. And two, now it gives us
editorial control.
Editorial control.
Or rules and everything else.
We have the rules, but the other thing is this, is we can reward guys who do it right.
Yeah.
And, guys who want to act like assholes, fine.
Go somewhere else.
Yeah, enjoy yourself.
And and these are the people that eventually we'll be working with. As we eventually get a tour going or something like, this will become the people we go to. In other words, you have to prove yourself.
Right.
And you can't say, I'll do it, I'll do it. No, show me.
Yeah, and the thing of this, we have to prove ourselves too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we've done a pretty good job of that so far. But no, I mean, I think we have. Every time somebody comes here, they get paid. Nobody's ever walked out of here saying, I didn't get what I was supposed to get.
Well, that's one thing I think everything that CSI does. We're known as being, if we say it, it's going to happen.
And the thing of it is, I know that, some people, maybe I'm a little blunt and maybe Mark's a little blunt for certain people, but at the end of the day, so what?
There's reasons.
We're all in this, mainly because we love it. The flip side of that is, you got to pay the bills, players and us. So you have to put out a good product, and we try real hard to put out a good product, and a lot of players try real hard to put out a good product. Unfortunately, some don't, and they're some of the ones that a lot of people want to see. So, we'll just,
well,
I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll.
We'll see what happens.
We're gonna, we're gonna put money in players' pockets and hopefully give people.
Well, the marketplace is going to determine if it works or not. It's
absolutely
you guys.
Absolutely.
It's the people in the streets, the pool players, the fans,
Yep.
And it has to work or it doesn't work. So I don't know. We'll keep an eye on the Super Billiards Expo. I'm sure that Alan Jr. will be posting some. Here's what we're going to be doing things, and I wish him the best.
Spanky asked what will the format of the matches be. Right now we're looking at just race to 25, 2 out of 3 sets, 10 ball on this table. If enough people want it, I would like to do some bar table 8-ball stuff. Yeah. I would have no problem.
I still think that's the best game.
Yeah, I would have no problem
for a bigger number of players.
And the beauty of it is, we can do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, and here's the thing from the player's point of view. If somebody called me up and said, I'll fly you to, shithole Wisconsin and pay you $1,000 to show up and all your expenses to come play Shane Van Boeing or Godzilla.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, send a ticket. I'm on the plane.
See, if you take the right attitude, see if it was Shane playing, yesterday Shane playing today Shane, he'd be there in a heartbeat because he learns from it.
Yeah.
There needs to be more people with that attitude, and I expect some of them.
And
but by the same token, they have to be marketable.
You have to be marketable. I tell you a match I would love to see, and it just popped into my head for no reason whatsoever. And it's like, you're almost trotting a baby seal out in front of a, hunter, kind of. But for whatever reason, I just thought it would be cool to see Jesse Engel play Mika.
See, I'd like to see Brandon Schuff and maybe DeShane play.
Yeah.
But see, they're both almost there. DeShane, I guess you could say,
is pretty much there, I think. I think DeShane's, I think we're going to start to see in the next year or two, I think you're going to see Mike DeShane really
get it together.
Yeah. Because he's starting, he's been at this. The first time I met Mike DeShane was in 2007 down in Florida. And he's been going hard since then. So, he's...
Well, there are some young players. I mean, the future of American pool isn't dead.
No,
but we need to find a way to get them to the world tournaments. And that's another one of our goals. So, we're working on it. So, I don't know, you got any decent questions out there? And I see one pocket.
Yeah, we could do one pocket. Everybody says one pocket till it comes time to hit the PayPal button. That's just through experience.
It can be tough to watch, but we had a semi-commitment between Shane and Efren with some date issues and things like that, so we'll see. There's some other topics that were hot and heavy on the internet too. You had the
Melling. I like to see Melling. The only thing is, I don't know that Melling will sell.
I tell you what, he's a
got
monster.
the talent.
People don't understand.
He's got
this
the
guy.
talent.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just in this country, I'm not sure enough people.
I'm.
You know,
he needs a little more exposure.
Yeah.
He needs to come over and play more of the points events and do some damage and become a more of a name. The only reason people even know him is because of the Moscone Cup.
Yeah. So. But he's he's got the game.
Yeah, he
for
sure
certain.
does. Yeah.
Next tar, that's what we're working on, Jay. Pay attention, man. Probably going to be Shane and somebody. It'll either be Shane and somebody or it'll be Danny and John. I can tell you that.
I'd love to see.
If I have my way, it'll be Danny
3.
and John.
Number 3.
Yeah, it'll be Danny. If we can make it happen, it'll be Danny and John.
That was a good good event. We should, I think, possibly talk about the Battle of the Beauties. It was a huge. I didn't watch it. A huge internet.
I really like both girls that were involved.
I do too. I admire both of them are stepping up.
I know them both. They're both really nice, sweet girls.
It's an interesting dynamic, and sometimes what's good for pools is good. To show them as professional women might be pushing the point.
Well, you know,
I have no idea how successful the event was.
Both Brianna and Chanel have taken a lot of heat, in my opinion. It's not due them. They're doing what they're paid to do.
Yeah.
You know, they're out there, and it's, I understand where there's a lot of, it really seems to incense certain people. They get really bent out of shape
Especially
about
the
it.
women.
Yeah.
Women get really pissed when a pretty woman gets any coverage. Now, they're both good-looking girls.
Because, the thing of it is, neither one of those girls will sit there and look you in the eye and say, yeah, I'm ready to play Allison Fisher even. It is what it is. Yeah. And, the thing of it is, you want to get mad at something, get mad at the person who's selling it for something it ain't.
Yeah.
And to me, it is what it is. It was an exhibition between two beautiful women playing pool. And if you wanted to see somebody running a 10-pack,
it ain't going to happen.
And I looked, I don't think anybody thought they were going to see that either. So I don't know.
Yeah, but it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic. I do wish people would take it a little easier on the girls personally, because they're doing the best they can do.
Absolutely.
And
they're
both pretty nice people.
And I'll tell you what, both of them, in my experience, if half of the men pros acted like they did and honored their commitments the way those two do, there'd be more opportunities in the pool world.
Yeah, sure.
Because both of them act professional, and when they're at an event, they do their job, they're on time, they're friendly to everyone, and most of the men are too. But the thing of it is, it's there's some that aren't. Some you look around and say, where the hell is he? Oh, he decided he's going to play golf, so he left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even getting back to I have to. This has to be discussed at the Allen Hopkins Players Championship, which is called the Diamond 10-Ball Championship, I believe. Allen's events are always alternating breaks. He opened this up to 128 players, but he only had 62 players, so it was a 64-man bracket. They did not have the standard tournament director, which is actually makes me a little happy, because I don't think he was a very good tournament director.
No, he wasn't.
But they replaced him with I believe his name is Dana, who is the number 2 man for doing the Turning Stone tournaments. They had some serious problems, and the first day they started the tournament at winter breaks, and actually Louis Ulrich put a 7-pack and he ran 9 out of the 10 racks anyhow, but not in one run.
Louis!
And against somebody, actually it was Sean Putnam. I'm not saying this has anything to do with anything, but the next day it went back to alternating breaks. So you started a tournament as winter breaks, then you go to alternating breaks. You can't do that. But in all fairness, Allen Hopkins' event is always alternating breaks. So this was an ABP event. Where were they? I mean, it just begs the question. I'm not picking on them, but damn it, if I did that, I would be getting hate mail.
Yeah.
Now you want one better.
Yeah.
So
after one match, you changed to paying quarters. It was an 8-page thread.
Yeah, that's true. And then on a quarter table.
Right, on a quarter table.
So the second day, they go to alternating breaks. No big deal. But it is. You can't change things in the middle. This one's bigger. The next day, they change all the red circles to measles balls.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference in the middle of a tournament.
Yeah.
How do you, who comes up with this stuff? You know, and I'm sorry, but I had a 2-hour phone discussion with the ABP board, their attorney, a couple other people. And
prior to this.
Prior to the event, I said, you know, you guys got to prove yourself. They want to control the points. I said, well, I don't know what's wrong with the BCA points, but if you think there's something wrong with it, why don't you talk to the BCA and see if they'll adjust them? Oh, no, we want to control our points. Well, you haven't shown that you can control them. This is the prime example of why they should never get the BCA points. You can't just, you know.
Well, see, here's my thing. The ABP, to me, has not proven itself to be any kind of an organization in the first place.
No, it's terrible.
They have done nothing to prove that they are an organization and anything other than name.
And they, you know, I don't understand their purpose. And I said, where are your points going? Where do they lead to? I don't know. Well, then I'll just have some CSI points. Hell, we'll have some TAR points.
Yeah.
Let's just get points run amok.
Well,
nobody understands what they mean.
Well, bottom line is this. The points, this is my opinion, the only reason anybody gives a shit about BCA points is the Moscone Cup, because that's a guaranteed payday. It's a year-end bonus for the top guys. And
I'm going to say yes and no, but...
Well, yes, it was. Now, only the top 2 in points go. Now, right? And then now Matchroom is taking... And Mark seems to think people care about world titles.
Well,
I don't.
I am saying that this is the only way you get an invite to world points. And that's what the ABP should be worrying about, is how do we fund our players to the world events, which is what the BCA tried to do. I gave $1,000 towards it. Only 4 people did. They wouldn't even say thank you.
Yeah, but the ABP doesn't give a shit about...
Well, then they are doomed.
World points.
They are doomed.
Well, they're doomed anyway.
I know, but that just dooms them again.
They don't care. And then the other thing of it is, nobody in America cares about the world stuff.
I just disagree.
You know why? Why would I care about a tournament I can't watch?
Well, now we can fix that, and there's some discussions going on.
And that's the biggest thing in the world.
This is not. It's not. That's true. This is not a discussion in a vacuum. This is part of many other things.
Yeah.
Which I wish we could tell the world some of the things we spend days and weeks on in our office, and they say, "Holy mackerel, you guys are really trying to do that?" We just don't make a lot of noise about it. We'll try to tell you when it happens, but there has to be a hierarchy and a pattern and a system for world points. This year, there's going to be close to $4 million in world billiard events. And I don't believe that means snooker. That's just 8-ball, 9-ball, 10-ball.
But here's the thing, though.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, sure, it sounds like a lot of money, but for an individual player, you still got to go finish top 5 to make any money.
Well, not necessarily.
Yeah,
but
necessarily.
You have to understand that all the other countries pay their... That's why those people play in those events in the nation, because their country pays them. Well, that's what ABP should be doing.
So here's my thing is...
That's what we're trying to do. We're laying the groundwork so when something gets put in place and a guy comes in first and he gets an invite to the World 8-Ball, guess what? He gets his way paid.
That's fine, but here's my point.
You know, and that has to happen.
Does the ABP acting like a bunch of dumbasses, which is what they've been doing, does that make you want to work harder to send their players to world tournaments?
No, I wouldn't. I'm sorry, but I just won't. I can't. No.
Well, and that's kind of my point.
I agree.
And that's what these players I'm not lumping like Shane. He ain't got shit to do with the ABP. Well, take my word on that.
But he's got his name on it.
Yeah. But the thing of it is, and I've told him and several other players, look, these guys are acting in your name, and I can tell you some of the decisions and things that they're doing. You know, I've talked to some people, and they're like, you know what? You know, there's lots of people out there that, you know, if they could put $5,000, $10,000 in a fund or a pot or donation or something like that with no problem. The hell, it happened with straight pool all the time. But at the end of the day, if they're looking around and they're going, do I really want to give these guys any money? Do I want to reward this type of behavior?
No, see, I'm agreeing with Justin. You know? There's a better way. Is it going to happen tomorrow? No. Are we trying to lay some groundwork for it? Yes, we are. And if you watch some of the things that's happening at Diamond, now Derby City, now the Southern Classic, you know, that's 2 events. You know, I was thinking about this the other day. Brumbeck's just got to love this. You know, because
he gets another tournament.
You know, because he does so well in the bank pool. Now he can make another $28,000 or whatever. Yeah. You know,
good for him. And the thing of it is, he's the kind of guy. I'm glad he's getting another tournament.
You bet.
You know,
well, and Shane,
he's
he
a
made
good dude.
53,000.
Yeah.
It might get the Johnny Archers, and I use that name as a generic name. Maybe they'll participate a little bit more. There is some money out there, but you got to be willing to go out and work for it.
Yeah.
But the ABP has some serious problems. Would I help them? Would I work with them? Yeah, but they got to make some changes. And I'm not talking out of school. This is what I told them on the phone. And it's unfortunate, but I don't think they get it.
What
They
pisses
think
me
they're
off is-
owed things.
Yes, and the thing that sucks is, as somebody who does events, I would love to have a real legitimate organization that I could call up and I could say, look, I want to do something XYZ on these dates. Here's what I want to do. These are the players I want. I got no problem paying a percentage or something reasonable to an organization that would arrange that.
Well, you want another one, which I haven't even looked at, but I'll make a generic statement. The promise of the ABP is if you sanction with the ABP, we'll bring all our members. Will they have, I believe, 55 members? How many do you think were at the tournament? And I don't honestly know. Maybe half.
Well,
maybe half.
The ones that they use their
You know?
big names, Efren, Boosty, none of those
none of those
guys
were
are
there.
there. And,
You know, also-
we went through that. Bustamante had no clue he was on that list.
So-
Neither did Efren. So
You know, and enough on the ABP. And this is not a beat up. This is pleading them to get their collective shit together. I mean, they got an attorney. They got some smart people helping them. Maybe they should listen to them. End of whatever. So, we never did talk about.
Here's the thing, and I hope this guy's kidding. He's saying their name should have never been used, and Sue will request to get off. You know, I mean, I agree that they should request to get off, but at the same point, they shouldn't have been on there in the first place. You know, I mean,
First of all, they're international players.
Taking heat for not asking to have your name removed, you know, it's it's kind of like
Backwards.
Yeah, it's like you know.
But one thing we didn't discuss is the U.S. Bar Table Championship. Great venue.
Great event.
Great event. The only glitch we had was over $8 in quarters, and and that was it was. You look back and it was almost funny. I wasn't there. I was
can laugh
preoccupied.
Now. I tell you
you
what,
were hot.
I was hot.
It put him out of commission for about 4 days. He was
hot.
just ballistic.
I was so
and it was
hot.
anal. But we had over 500 entries total. We had 8-ball, 9-ball, 10-ball. I don't remember the total amount, but it was like 70,000 in prizes. Fantastic venue. $39 rooms, $49 on weekend.
Good food.
Yeah, $25 all-you-can-eat sushi. It was good. The steaks were good.
Yeah.
I mean, this place is the nuts for a pool tournament.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was it kicked my ass. It absolutely it's
Yeah,
the
you
toughest
were- yeah.
it's the toughest tournament I've ever done.
I
And a
don't
lot
know.
of
That wasn't just
No.
because of the tournament. That was just the peripherals.
Well, it was just
Yeah.
everything involved. I mean, it was the hardest I've ever
See, I
done.
didn't know if I got sick, I'd just take the wind out of your sails.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to lie, that was stressful. This guy had us all sweating
Yeah.
there for a while.
Yeah.
But it was
I'm all better now.
Yeah,
I'm not.
that
You're
was-
not going to get rid of me that fast.
It was
And it was a
thing.
funny little deal. It's called the. I got it written down. It's called the Mallory-Weiss tear. I went in with pneumonia. The Mallory-Weiss tear is where the esophagus meets the stomach, and it just for some reason tears. And if you have a lot of coughing or you throw up a lot, but I don't do either one of those. Things just happen. I can say that the best place to have something like that happen is in a hospital, and by golly, I was there. But I lost 5 pints of blood.
So if you
Before
wouldn't have
they
been in the hospital, you could have literally, if that would have happened, you could have just bled out in your sleep.
Yeah,
right?
in theory. But I think you'd probably wake. Who knows?
Yeah.
But so now I'm anemic for 3 months because I have a high blood count because I have emphysema. So it's going to take me like 90 days for my red blood count to get up. So half the time you'll see me, I'm on oxygen. It doesn't mean I'm dying. It just means I'm building up so I can kick your ass.
But yeah, that was a scary trip, man.
Well, it was I say this, it was the smoothest tournament I was ever at.
Yeah.
I was there the first day and I came back the day it was done.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but everything went well. My staff did off the charts cool.
Bad
We're
Boys
gonna-
Billiards, Rick Jones, Bonnie Jones.
Yeah, and we're going to be getting bigger and better next year because we're doing qualifiers. We had the World PPA group, had the 9-foot tables.
We're not going to let Rick start any more threads on AZ, though.
That's true.
He doesn't get to start any more threads on AZ.
But I hope you guys would try out the U.S. Bar Table Championship. It was a real classy event. It's
the
in Reno.
facility's awesome, man. It's really
It's the
cool.
same place the IPT held their second
I
event.
think, you know, it's, I would consider it on par with the Riviera, maybe a
I
little
think it's
nicer.
better. It's nicer.
Maybe a little nicer.
The upstairs
when the
is-
renovations get done, it will be nicer.
Well, the food.
Yeah.
They have 10 restaurants.
Yeah.
And listen, everything was reasonably priced. You had a good steak for $25. I mean, a really, really
Yeah, they had a
triple
ribeye,
one.
and they had a nice ribeye in the diner.
I can't say enough good things about it.
We ate at the steakhouse one night, me and Andy, and it's, you know, steakhouse prices, but phenomenal. I mean, phenomenal
Well,
food.
you can go to steak.
Much better than like
Horseshoe.
the Binions. It was
Yeah, Horseshoe.
little less, not quite as expensive
It was
as there.
less, quite a bit less, 20% less.
Yeah, but the food way
better.
better. Way better.
You can go to their coffee shop and get some. It's like Riviera prices in the coffee shop, but 10 times as good. I encourage anybody to go to the event, and you know, and we did have some big tables there, so I think I'm excited about that event. That was our
Got a lot of room to grow.
19th year.
I tell you what, I passed a lot of people in the halls. When I would talk to people, I'd ask them, you know, two things: how do you like it? What do you think of the arena, of the venue?
Yeah.
And everybody liked it. A lot of people said, I'm coming back. I'm excited for it. I think that tournament, you know, I'm proud of the coverage that we put out.
Yep.
I think we did a good job. We had a good crew. Andy, Callie Red helped out a little bit. But Andy Chin really busted his ass. I love working with that guy because he's...
Well, he actually knows what he's doing.
He knows a lot.
He's gone to school.
Every time I work with him, I learn a lot of shit. Yeah. And so I always look forward to working with him because I get to learn. And the other thing is, he works hard. He's a hard worker, man.
No complaining. A couple things you need to know because we're getting close to time here. Callie Red came to work for CSI for a couple weeks, helped Justin out, and went to Reno and everything. His mom took a turn for the worse. She's been sick. And he had a tough decision to make. He could stay here and get more gray hair, or he could go home and take care of his mom. Out of the 3 or 4 kids, he's the only one that had the ability to go back there. He's probably going to still do some assistance with us because he's up in the middle of nowhere in Nebraska. And that's unfortunate. It was a little stressful for us because we brought him in to do some jobs, and now we got to hire somebody else from the looks of it. But you got to do what you got to do. The second little pet peeve, when we do events, we like to get coverage. And a couple of the magazines actually did coverage on the Jay Swanson Memorial Tournament, and they just forgot to say that CSI was there, or it was held at Hard Times in Bellflower. Listen, this is to the magazines and everybody else. When you're covering an event, who, what, where, when, why, all sponsors need to get recognized. They do that for recognition. And it's no wonder this industry's running in circles when the people that write the articles can't even say that it's sponsored by CSI.
Well, and you
it's
know,
stupid.
it all goes back to one thing, and it's amazing to me. You know, I'm a member of the billiards media, whatever.
I know.
And so, you know, it kind of pains, you know, I know, like Billiards Digest, you know, like really the closest thing I would consider to billiards media outside of, you know, they're not even, all they do is their publishing points. You know, they don't really do any collection.
No.
You know, I mean, they might pay a nominal fee for somebody to do a story or something like that.
By the word, or give me here's $200, write a 500-page
right,
article.
or
blah, blah,
I'll
500.
trade out ad space, or you know, so it's.
so
But it's not like they have a staff and they're sending out staff reporters and photographers and stuff like that. For big events, I've seen, you know, a couple guys sometimes they'll do it.
For major events they will.
But so it's what sucks is now as a content producer or an event producer, not only do you have to do all the shit you got to do the event, now you got to cover your own event. And if you do that and you send it to them, yeah, they'll probably publish it.
They'll probably print it.
You know, they'll probably print it. But the thing of it is, as a producer, it really pisses you off to do all that work. And then at the end of the day, after you do all that, and you do everything involved, and especially a big event, you know, but it's like, can I get a little bit of help?
It gets worse than that.
Can I get a little bit of help?
It makes an event be dependent upon how a writer can write. And I will tell you a true story. Yeah. A few years ago, there were a little local tours, and they'd make it sound like was a great success, and this guy did this and this and this and this. Never did it say how many were in it. 23 people.
Yeah.
Made it sound like there was 200 people there.
Yeah.
It's totally misleading. We also had one writer who puts us some art, and we said, yeah, go ahead and write it, but we'd like to see it before you send it. Oh, no. No, you're not going to tell me. We didn't say we were going to tell you what to write, but we know the facts, and you weren't there.
Right.
And it would be nice if we could
Yeah.
run it by us for accuracy. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Now, what in the world is, that's nonsense. So you're going to print something that says Mark Griffin won the tournament when he came in 9th or something because you were misinformed?
Yeah.
That's stupid. I'm sorry. Where's the common sense here?
Yeah.
You know?
But, you know, it goes back to one thing is it's like, you know,
Yeah.
frog had wings, it wouldn't bump its ass, but, you know, or wish in one hand, shit in the other. But, I mean, it would be nice if we had a real media. We don't. You know,
they're struggling.
What there is,
they're struggling.
what there is, you know, a bunch of people out there who either volunteer to do it, well, the other thing is when you have this situation, there is no real bar to entry, so there is no real, you know, professional. So you get, you know, something's better than nothing is the point of view, is a paradigm. So you know,
there's just you know, this industry, it really is fractured, and the only real answer is organization. I didn't say an organization, but that's part of it. But organization, because. And that takes sponsorship. It takes a coordinated series of events.
Yeah.
And if you could get that and then form an organization, and then you either play by these rules or you play somewhere else. And slowly you would have a unified voice. And it will happen, assuming somebody can find a good sponsor, a decent sponsor. I'm not talking millions. I mean, I've said it 100 times, for $1 million you could own this industry.
yeah, absolutely.
You know? So. But it's happening. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. We hope to be able to tell you about them over the next 6 months, because maybe some of them will be happening. And I don't know. I don't have a whole lot more to say. I'm out of air, but hard to believe, isn't it?
Brooklyn Jay is from New York, so he didn't understand the saying, if a frog had wings, it wouldn't bump its ass. What that means is, you know, I wish I was rich. It doesn't, you know. If a frog had wings, it wouldn't bump its ass. You know, I mean,
you want to win the lottery?
Yeah, exactly. It's the other thing. It's like I had an uncle who used to say this all the time. Whenever somebody would say, "Well, I wish this" or "I wish that," he would say, "Well, wish in one hand, shit in the other, and see which one fills up first." You know, I mean, just because you would like something to be different doesn't mean
it's going to be
shit.
But by the same token, if you can imagine it, it can happen. Yeah. And there's nothing that limits us. It's strictly our imagination. And really, you know, the industry's changed a lot in the last few years. Live streaming's here. 5 years ago, it was nowhere.
Yeah.
So a lot of things are happening.
Yeah, and I constantly see new people popping up doing live streams. Like I saw, this Daniel Bush, POV Pools, doing it out of there.
And he's covering, they're trying to put the thing together for the 3 West Coast divisions of things. They've got California Billiards is doing the 1 pocket and the 10 ball, and then Hard Times is doing their 10 ball, and then they come to May for our event. So it's like a trifecta. And so, I mean, listen, it's all not gloom and doom, but you got to discuss things to make them better. I hope everybody takes what we say in the right vein, and if you don't, change the channel, I guess.
There you go. I like where you're going with that.
Yeah.
But
our advice is what you pay for it.
We're glad to be back.
Yeah, we'll be a little more.
We took a little longer off than we planned, but I don't know if every week is good. But as long as we got something to talk about, we'll definitely be back. Mark wants to do one of these every day.
No, he doesn't. I'm not the Marty Herman of the internet.
So. Oh, we didn't even talk about Marty.
Well, good.
Oh, man.
Good.
Yeah, maybe I'll start doing one of these every day.
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, I watched a couple of those, and
it's interesting.
it was amazing.
I don't.
It was amazing. I mean,
I heard he was talking to and dancing to himself.
He was just, I mean, he was calling you and me everything but every name in the book. Yeah. The root of all evil.
We are.
Yeah.
Are we on the kill list?
I guess.
Jerry and
I guess.
Jerry and
I've gotten. He's threatened me before in PMs and shit like that.
You know, and I've known him for 20 years. He's always been strange, but he hasn't been strange. You know?
Well, I'll tell you what. One thing, if somebody tells me they want to kill me, I'm going to take them at their word and treat them as such.
Absolutely, you have to.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thing about Marty's sick. There's something wrong with him. Normal people don't do and say the things he's doing. So
freedom of speech, let him do it.
That's fine. I don't. Well, I know where there's a point where
you can cross the line. Yeah.
Well, he's going around telling people AZ Billiards is half his idea, and he was half owner, and Mike screwed him out of it. It's bullshit. 100% bullshit. You know, I've heard things he said about me. You know, he's called. You know, and Marty's the kind of guy that, you know, he calls. You know, he'll call the cops on you.
Yeah.
You know, and say this guy's doing this, and he'll try to rat you out to try to get you in trouble and make shit up to do it in the process. Yeah. You know, now to me,
you know, you're going to get an
that's
email
crossing
from him
the line. That's fine.
I know.
You know, hey.
He's been banned from our.
I got
he
nothing
was pro pool player, wasn't that his chat?
My thing is, I'm willing to let that. You know, as long as he leaves me alone, I'll leave him.
That's my attitude. And I don't.
But at the same time, you know, if
he's not welcome in any of my events, however,
if he wants to get, you know, if
he's not welcome.
You know, as far as like I said, I'll leave him alone. But all I got to say is, he just needs to stay far, far, far away from me because I don't want nothing to do with that guy.
The only other thing that was really kind of interesting news is. I can't think of his name. Action Central. Action Central posts on AZ Billiards. He won the Anagoni tournament up there in Reno a year and a half ago. He got a $5,000 judgment against Tony Anagoni. So good for him. I hope he finds a way to collect it.
I did see something like that where, okay, I didn't know that was his name.
And it took him a year and...
I'm guessing Anagoni just no-showed? Is that what happened?
No, he actually went to court and accused Jeff of cheating, and it was the judge had to tell Anagoni to shut up.
Oh, good for the judge.
Just, you know, another one that needs to, I think he has gone away. So,
well, good.
You know, we're weeding him out.
Good.
Or as they say, kill him and let God sort him out. I don't know. But
no, I mean, I think...
I wouldn't. That's a joke.
Too many people have been able to take advantage of players, sponsors, all that shit. You know, they're fast talkers and they fly under the radar and do this and that and, support for the good of the game. And guess what happens at the end of the day? You know, sometimes it's just because they bite off more than they can chew, but
sometimes it just catches them finally.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, listen, I want to wrap this up because I want to keep some stuff for next week.
Okay.
And we'll be next week will be Thursday, correct? We're going to go back to Thursday. Friday is kind of a funny night, but Justin had some technical problems yesterday and earlier today. But he's a genius and got them all figured out. His bigger hammer.
Exactly.
This time it wasn't more money; it was just a bigger hammer.
Bigger hammer.
That's a good thing. Yep. So, anyhow. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. We apologize for being 5 weeks away.
I will get this up, be up by the morning on YouTube. Yeah. So,
and again, give us some stuff to talk about. I mean, let's get some meat and potatoes here. Let's not just be bad mouthing. Get some concepts. You know, get some sponsors.
Somebody send Mark an email and
no, I don't. You know,
give him something to chew on.
Okay.
Don't send them to me. Send them.
Yeah.
But ideally, in the future, we'll have something. I don't know if it'll be next week, but it'll be soon. Hopefully, we'll have something worked out with the tar store.
And
like I said, next tar match either going to be John and Danny, or Shane and somebody.
Shane and somebody.
Yep.
Throw a name out there if you on the Shane thing. I mean, especially if you're a player and you say, "Hey, I'll play him," but come on, you know where you are down in the.
Well, I haven't. I've been trying to get a hold of him. I haven't been able to get a hold of him yet. But my short list is. Rhymes with Hatch. That's
Rhymes with Hatch.
Rhymes with Hatch.
Batch.
Yep.
Match.
So,
we'll
see if we.
That would be an interesting match because he's got a lot of East Coast fans and he's got some power.
Yes, he does. Dennis a monster.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, everybody. Thank
you
very
guys.
Much.
Thank you very much, and I'm gonna go turn this thing off.
So you guys, when am I supposed to wait? Shall I sing to him?
No, don't do that. Do not sing to him.
Okay. Well, American Idol's been pretty good. I've been taking lessons remotely.
Actually, you thank OBQs and Kamui.
Well, that's true. I will thank OBQs and Kamui, and I'll thank OBQs again because they really stepped up for us a couple of times. And I think it's great. They make a good product. They're American-made. Kamui's an interesting product, and it's not American-made. But it's definitely creating some interest. And they got a new chalk out, so check them out. That's it.
Okay.
See you next week.